You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Raise your hand if you're ready to finally stop taking work home with you and actually start taking a lunch break. Or spend more time helping students, the reason you got into this profession, and less time doing stuff like bus duty. And if you're ready to finally use data to showcase the importance of your program and the progress your students have made. If any of those things sound like you, then I have got the ultimate solution for you, and that is my stress-free school counseling course. Now you may be thinking, wait, you've talked about this before. I have. So my stress-free school counseling course used to only be launched a few times a year, but now it is available all year long. And it is at a discounted price. This is perfect if you're the counselor who wants to work through it at your own pace. If instead of going through with a cohort and doing things together, you want to get to it when you can because you have a busy schedule. But first, let's see if you're even the right fit. Does this sound like you? You're a new counselor who wants to get started on the right track and not make mistakes and then redo things later. Or maybe you're a veteran counselor and you're feeling burnt out. Or maybe you're just a counselor who feels overwhelmed and stretched too thin. It's so hard to do all the things at once. Or maybe you're a counselor determined to change your program from reactive to proactive. Well, you're in the right place. Stress-Free School Counseling is totally for you. It's a 5-module digital course. So what that means is you get to watch video modules of me talking to you, just like I do here on the podcast, and teaching you in different areas like scheduling, organization, data collection, advocating for your role, and handling pushback. If this sounds like something you may be interested in, if you're a lifelong learner and can't wait to improve your counseling program, you're going to love this. And of course, it's stress-free. Head over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/enroll to get started today. Psst, come over here. I've got extra special news. We just added Stress-Free School Counseling to the Impact annual membership. If you join Impact, my membership for school counselors, at the annual rate, you will get the Stress-Free School Counseling course I was just talking about, included for absolutely free. Hurry, this is a super new thing we just added, and I'm so excited about it. Okay, let's check out today's episode. You're listening to School Counseling Simplified. So in today's episode, I want to wrap up our productivity practices series by talking about how you can document your services provided and digitalize your to-do list. Anyways, so I am passionate about these topics, like I mentioned in the other episodes. By putting these systems in place, it frees you up for more time for doing what you love most, which is serving students. So I hope you're finding this podcast series to be really encouraging and liberating. That's my intention behind it. So in today's episode, like I said, I want to talk about documenting services provided and tackling that to-do list. Now, documenting services provided is where you're literally just writing down who you saw and when you saw them. It's pretty simple. Now, I love to do a counseling log. I think that's the most efficient way to do this. It keeps everything fresh. If just after sessions you jot down what you did with the students, I encourage you to do this in a digital format. I like to use a Google Sheet, or you can make a spreadsheet, just to say, when you saw the student, what you kind of talked about briefly, how long you saw them for, and any other important notes on there. It's a great way to remember what you did with them, so next time you can keep up, because I'm sure you have a huge caseload. And it's also just a nice way to track how many minutes you're spending in these direct student services. So if you're looking for a template for a weekly counseling log, I have one we can link to in the show notes. Like I said, it's a spreadsheet. I love that, and you've likely already been doing this, like taking some notes of who you're seeing and what you're doing, but having it all in like one organized place is going to make your life so much easier. So I think you're going to love this digital counseling log spreadsheet that I've developed. Like I said, I'll link to it in the show notes, or you can just totally DIY it, just by writing down the columns of like the date, the student, the area of need, the type of counseling, the duration, strategies used, notes, and parent communication. If you do like those columns, you can make your own, easy peasy. But there are 3 other things I wanted to touch on, because I've talked about a counseling log a lot, and I can link to some blog posts on that too if you want to deep dive the counseling log. But in today's episode, I wanted to share like 3 things you may have not thought of when it comes to documenting the services provided. And the first one is to use handwritten notes. So honestly, sometimes you can just jot down your notes. I like to do this in a folder. Sometimes I'll keep a manila folder with the student's name and all their like paperwork of what we're working on. And then at the end of our sessions together, I'll send home the folder so they can show it to their parents or their teachers, which is a great way for them to communicate what they're doing in counseling, which is kind of a backhanded way to advocate for your role and the importance of the school counselor's position. But at the same time, you can jot down in the little flap of that manila folder why you're seeing them and what dates you saw them. That's like a simple way to do it. You already have it right there. So that's easy peasy, old school. Love that. The second way you can document services provided that you may not have thought of is recording a voice memo. So on your phone, you likely have a smartphone, or your computer has a voice memo feature. If you just search memo, you'll probably find it. And you can just do a quick voice memo, and then you can upload the file somewhere like in Google Drive, or organize it somewhere, on your computer digitally. But that's really quick. If you don't even have time to jot it down, you could do a voice memo. And the third way that you could document services that you provided is to create a Google Forms sign-in sheet. So using Google Forms, you could make a little sign-in sheet if you have like an extra iPad or Chromebook or something at your school. Have it at the front, and they like sign into counseling when they come to your office. They'll put their name, their date, their reason for visit. And then once they submit it, the form refreshes. So it's not like the next child will see the previous child's response. We want to keep it confidential, of course. And then you'll have the connected spreadsheet with all the responses. So it kind of does it for you. You can see why they came. Now, I like to do that for drop-in students because you likely already have students on your schedule, like your reoccurring individuals and small group students. But the drop-in kiddos, that's a great way to document those because those are important minutes that you're spending with them, and then you can remember why they came to you. So I love that. Now, I hope you like these little tips for documenting services provided. It was kind of like a quickie thing I wanted to touch on. So I wanted to also talk about to-do list in this episode because to-do lists can be demanding, but who doesn't love the high of checking off a to-do list, right? Sometimes I've even written down a task that I've already accomplished just so I can cross it off. And you maybe have done that too. So when it comes to keeping track of your task and your to-do list, digital apps are your friends. So some people may be pencil paper galleys and you want to like cross it off or highlight it, but I'm telling you the digital ones are so nice and they make it so easy. So there's a few, I want to talk about 3. One is Trello. Trello is very visual. It's great for like bigger projects like project management. You can add due dates, you can add checklists, you can color coordinate, you can add labels. They're like these little cards. It's almost like a visual version or a digital version of a sticky note. So if you like sticky notes, you'll love Trello. It also has some good collaboration features if you work on a counseling team. The second app I want to recommend is Todoist. Now, Todoist is good for reoccurring tasks. So you can put in there, again, like the timeline. And this is a free app, free desktop version as well. And another one I just started using, I used to use Todoist, but then I recently switched to Do, D-U-E. I love Do. I have it on my phone. And it's a paid app, and I like never pay for apps, but it was well worth it. I really like the features in Do. And then the third one is the Notes app. So if you have an Apple device, a MacBook, or an iPhone, you have Notes. I'm sure the Android version has like a similar one. But they like keep enhancing the Notes app, and I just love it. I use it for everything. But you can do check boxes. And of course, the cross-device use is nice. So if you're on your work computer, but then it's on your phone, just so you can kind of easily keep track of your to-do list here. That'll keep it simple, and you can just like check off what you're doing. So like I said, they have new features, but I mainly just use the checkbox feature. Really love that. So I hope you find those to-do list apps helpful as you're going through your to-do list. And, I think your to-do list really depends on your personality. Think about, I don't know if you're into Enneagram or anything, or your Myers-Briggs type, but think about who you are and your personality and what to-do list will motivate you versus which to-do list will discourage you. So some people like to have every single detail on there so they can check off each one, almost like project management, make sure every single thing gets done. But to some people, if they see too many things on the to-do list, it is very visually daunting, and that makes them not able to start, right? So if that's something you resonate with and you're thinking, yes, that's me, if there's too much on there, I just simply cannot, I feel overwhelmed, then what you can do is, I've done a couple things. I have one where it's like a monthly checklist, weekly, daily. And so that way you're looking at the daily, it's literally only what needs to be done today. And the other stuff can stay in the monthly or the weekly, and you just kind of move it over, right? That way your daily maybe only has 3 things on it. I've also heard of people doing like, the big 3 or the big 5, and that's just 5 things you're going to do that day, nothing more. Keeping it really simple that way. So think about your personality type when it comes to your to-do list, because you want it to work best for you. But here are some options that you can try. Okay, guys, I hope you found this productivity series super helpful. If you like learning this kind of stuff, if you think that it's really helpful, then you will love my Stress-Free School Counseling course. This is the one I've been talking about. It's 5 modules. It talks all about scheduling, organization, data collection, advocating for your role, and handling pushback. These few episodes I've been doing were just a sneak peek of the scheduling and organization modules, but not even the whole thing. It's super comprehensive. I think you'll love it. Hundreds of counselors have done it and loved it, and I think you will too. So if you're interested, go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com to get more details. And also Impact, if you join my Impact membership, if you're interested in that too, you're like, new year, give me all the things. I highly encourage you to join the annual membership, because you'll get the Stress-Free School Counseling course included for free. So that's a new thing we added recently, and we're super pumped on it. So let me know if you have any questions about that. You can always reach me via email, rachel@brightfutures-counseling.com. Tag me on Instagram at Bright Futures Counseling with your to-do list or with whatever. I would love to see your productivity hacks in action. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.